Welcome to the Golf Report podcast. I'm joined by Jack Jones, the head men's golf coach at Trinity College. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, Gavin. Thank you so much for having me on your
Yeah,
channel. Very excited to speak with you.
yeah. So I live here in Connecticut also. Trinity College is up, in Hartford. Just tell me how's the winter been and just how's it been going for you and, your golf team?
Yeah, it's definitely been a cold winter,
Yeah.
especially recently when it feels like we have getting to make some progress trying to get back out on the course, and then snows again or more ice. But the team's been working hard. I'm currently in our hockey rink at Trinity, and we've got a TrackMan room set up in there with some putting mats and obviously our launch monitor and net. So we've been working for just under a month. We started like early February doing some practices, and it's been going great so far. Team's really excited for the weather to warm up and to get back outside.
Yeah. So your season begins in about a month. So just tell me, a little bit about, you have experience. You played at Trinity and you also played hockey, which we'll, talk about. But just, as a coach, how does your team prepare during the winter to get ready, when your season begins about,
Yeah,
end of
well.
March, April, and just how did you,
Mhm.
prepare when you were a player at Trinity?
Yeah. So when I was a player, we didn't really have much of an indoor facility. We just
Mhm.
used a net in a squash court here.
Okay.
So once I became the coach, I knew that was like very important to have like a specific area that we can come play and practice. So it's gotten a lot nicer now, and
Mhm.
since we have that, we do a lot of work on our wedges and a lot of like feel work inside of 150 yards. I think that's something that any golfer could work on more, and then I think it's especially important in the winter time. Just keeping your feel up and working on perfecting your yardages. So once you get back outside, then it's not you're. I feel like that's the best way to knock off the rust.
Yeah. In college golf, you play, the fall season, September and October. Then you take a few months off, and then you start in the spring season again, like March, April time. So just, given the few months that you get off from, college tournaments, as coach, how do you prepare your team so that they're ready to go, given in the spring season and that,
Yeah. So
um,
in the NESCAC, we have pretty strict rules that will say like coaches aren't allowed to have any sort of mandatory team activities outside of
okay,
our season. So basically, in the months of like November, December, and January. So it's pretty much all up to the guys to put in the work.
okay,
Uh, if they want to, some will put the clubs away for a little bit, which is totally fine. We play a lot of golf in the fall, and I totally understand if you want to take a little break away. Other guys, once the season ended, they were right back in the golf room working on their games. And then in addition to that, they're in the weight room 3 times a week with a Trinity strength coach. So they've been doing an awesome job there, getting a lot stronger. So I'm really excited once we get back going.
yeah. Let's talk about the fall season. Your team had two victories. One victory, which was a full team, field of 20 teams. You won in Pennsylvania, and then just a smaller team, just four teams, in
Mhm.
Vermont. It was hosted by Middlebury. So just tell me about your two victories. Just how did you feel like the fall season was for your team?
Yeah, I mean, both of those tournaments were phenomenal. So our Williamsport tournament, it was the first time that we had played in that event. So new course, new teams we were seeing because usually we stay in New England, and this one was out in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So a little bit further drive. And I wasn't really sure how it was going to go because our first two tournaments of the year weren't our best. So I feel like the expectations we sort of didn't go into the tournament with any expectations. And that really served us well because, I mean, they played so well. I mean, we shot under par both days at that event, which doesn't happen too often in Division III golf. So that was some really, really good playing. And I think our team gained a ton of confidence from that event. We competed with some awesome teams. And we were in the lead after day one, and then we were able to extend it on day two, which it can be a ton of pressure when you're playing with the lead. So that was really really fun. especially because we had I believe two freshmen in the lineup and one sophomore, so a relatively young team, and they really performed well under pressure, which was great. And
Mhm.
then our other victory was at this. It's called the Sap Bucket, and it's an annual tournament. It's us, Middlebury, Williams, and Hamilton. So conference
Okay.
rivals, and it's just one day, but it's at one of the best courses in Vermont, Aquanic Country Club, which is like just absolutely spectacular, especially the time of year that we play it. Early October. Just the leaves on the trees are all turning. The course is in perfect condition, and it's such a treat that we're able to play out there. And that day was brutal because it was about low 40s. It was windy, it was rainy, and
Mhm.
it's a really difficult golf course. But we had, I forget, four or five guys that shot below 72 or 73. So we really performed well there. Anytime you're able to beat up on your conference rivals, it feels good.
Mhm.
But I mean, just the fact that they were able to, play that well with those conditions really shows a lot about, our team's grit and, the belief that they have in themselves.
Yeah. So then, as I mentioned before, your spring season will begin in about a month. Hopefully when the weather gets warmer. Here in the Northeast. But
Mhm.
just tell me a little bit about what do you see for your team going into the spring season? And then I noticed I've talked to a lot of coaches and players about this, but the spring season, even at the Division 3 level, it's very busy and jam packed. Like your team's going to be playing a tournament once you get into April, almost every weekend. So just
Mhm.
being busy, having a tournament basically almost every weekend in April. How's that for you as coach and mostly for your players, balancing, playing tournaments, traveling, and then also, they have school and academics.
Totally. Yeah, it's a lot going on. And like you said, every weekend once we start up
Yeah.
in April. So, it's jam-packed, but it's a lot of fun too. And I'm
Mhm.
I'm I'm really excited, really optimistic about our team's chances this spring. I mean, we have a ton of talent. And I mean, they've been putting in some really good work. And like the thing about the spring, especially in New England, the weather is so unpredictable, as you know.
Yep.
So the fact that we're able to we had our last tournament, we were coming off that victory at the Sap Bucket in terrible conditions. That gives me a lot of confidence that we can handle the iffy New England spring weather. And
Mhm.
I think if we play with that same level of grit and determination, then we'll be just fine. But we've got some great events lined up against some really good teams at fantastic courses. So it'll just be a lot of fun. I mean, that's what it's all about, getting on the road with the team and creating those memories while we're in the van or staying on the road is just so much fun. So I can't wait to get going.
Yeah. And last year, in the spring, your team had a very good, spring season. You got, multiple victories. Second place at Williams, and then you got third at NESCAC. So just how do you feel like, last season was so good? Maybe your NESCAC championship didn't go the way you wanted, but just how do you feel like, last season went? Outside of conference, your team played very good, and then maybe conference championship didn't go the way you wanted. So just how do you feel like, last season was for your team?
I mean, last season was kind of felt like a dream season
Yeah.
until the last tournament. Like it was such a great group of guys, um,
Mhm.
and they really, really wanted it so badly for each other, and they played so well all year, and it's almost like it just sort of came easily to them. And then yeah, just we had got off to a bad start in the NESCAC championship, and um,
Mhm.
unfortunately, it didn't go our way because in our situation in our conference, you sort of need to win the conference in order to make it to the national championship. So, we were disappointed about that, but that doesn't take away from the fact of like what a special season it was. I mean, not finishing outside of the top three in, I forget, 8, 9, 10 tournaments is so impressive. So, um, you know, that just because of the tough finish, that doesn't take away from what a great year it was and all the hard work the team put in. So I'm really proud of them.
Yeah. And in April, your team is going to be hosting a home tournament you hosted last year, and your team won. And I spoke to a lot of coaches, and the common theme is, it's very difficult and it's a lot of work, to host a home tournament. So for you, just tell me about, your home tournament you're going to be hosting in April, and then what's it like, you're also, coaching that weekend, you're the tournament host. So, just what's it like, being the host and having your coaching duties as well?
Yeah, good question.
Mhm.
And this year it'll be sort of unique because this is going to be the first time that Trinity is we're co-hosting with the University of Hartford
Okay.
because we're playing at Tumblebrook Country Club. Have you ever played there?
No, I've not.
No. Okay. Well, it's in Bloomfield,
Mhm.
Connecticut. Um,
Okay.
and it's both of our home course, so it worked out very well that we're going to be able to co-host, which hopefully that means I can spend a little bit more time, coaching the team on the course. Because last year when we did it, I was the only one running it, and that I was basically just making sure all the things were running smoothly rather than coaching. And I guess
Mhm.
I don't really need to coach because the guys won the tournament, so maybe they're fine without me. But yeah, I'm excited for this year. Great course, and the field has gotten even better than it was last year too. So I'm excited. I think it'll be a good tournament.
Yeah. And then the NESCAC championship will be at the end of April um, in Williamstown, hosted by Williamstown at Taconic Golf Club. So, just what do you see for the NESCAC championship, being hosted by Williams and at the end of April?
It should be a great event. I mean,
Hmm.
the Taconic Golf Club is one of the best college facilities in the country.
Yeah.
So we're lucky that we're able to play there, usually once in the fall, once in the spring. And this year, it'll be the first time the NESCAC Championship is 54 holes, which I think is a fantastic adjustment to the championship because hopefully that means the best team will come out on top. I'm confident that the best team will come out on top in that format.
Mhm.
So, like Taconic's tough, and you got to prepare for some firm greens, undulating greens as well. So it's about leaving yourself in good spots and not trying to force the issue because doubles will pop up very quickly out there if you get a little too aggressive. So yeah, I mean, I think luckily it's a course that most of the guys on our team have played and are comfortable out there. I mean, at the very least, it's a phenomenal course and they enjoy it. So I mean, it's going to be difficult, but I think we're up to the task too.
Yeah. So you're a 2019 graduate of Trinity. I'm familiar with Trinity. You're a Division III school in Hartford, Connecticut,
Mhm.
in the NESCAC. But just as an alum of Trinity, can you tell me a little bit about Trinity College?
Absolutely. I mean, like where to begin? First, we're in Hartford, Connecticut, which is the capital of Connecticut.
Mhm.
So it's we're right in a big city here, very busy around campus, but the campus itself feels very private. I think when I was a student, that was probably my favorite part was just how beautiful our campus is and like our quad, especially in the spring, is busy with people just having fun and hanging out. We've got a beautiful chapel here as well, and just great architecture around campus, which I always enjoyed. But I think it's really the people that make Trinity special. I have all my best friends now are were my teammates at Trinity. We've got such a great bond, and like I mean, as a coach now, like I've gotten to know obviously like the rest of the athletic department, who are just they're great coaches, great people. And I've just made so many friends here, so it's a very comfortable space. And then in addition to that, like the professors at Trinity are awesome. I mean, they really want you to succeed here. I mean, in all facets, try and set the students up for success. And I think it's just a really, really well-rounded experience. So I mean, I could not be more proud to be able to recruit to Trinity. I love talking about it with recruits, and to be a head coach here at my alma mater is a dream come true.
Yeah. So I was looking, a little bit doing research on you're from Illinois.
Hmm.
So I was interested in knowing, tell me about, growing up in Illinois, since you grew up, you played golf and you played hockey in high school. So tell me
Hmm.
about growing up playing hockey and golf in Illinois, and then, growing up in Illinois, tell me about, how you ended up attending Trinity,
Yeah.
going from Illinois to, Hartford, Connecticut. How you ended up in Hartford, Connecticut, and how it was for you.
Yeah. So my whole life, I've always just played a ton of sports. So I mean, when I was young, and my family all has this athletic background as well. both my sisters played college sports. My dad was a college tennis player, and he's a tennis pro now, tennis professional. That's been his career his whole life. So I, grew up playing tennis. Then I always loved look when I watched hockey on TV. I thought goalies had such cool equipment. I wanted to try that. So that's sort of what got me into being an ice hockey goalie. And then, additionally, nobody else in my family played golf, but I saw it. Some people playing. I forget where I was, but that's sort of what made me want to get into golf. And I think I was about 6 when I started. And I was definitely I had some talent right away. It just sort of came easily to me, and then as I got into high school, I started growing more, and that was a big change. For my golf game. I grew like 8 or 9 inches in less than a year,
Oh
and
wow.
my swing just became horrible. And my confidence fell. But at the same time, the growing helped my hockey game. So,
Mhm.
I had a vision of playing Division 1 golf, and as I started to struggle more, then I started to look into the possibility of, because I still love golf through this all. I mean, of course, I was still working hard. Um, I just wasn't getting the results. And then, you know, I sort of started to look for colleges where I could potentially play both sports. And, the NESCAC popped out at me right away. Great academics and great athletics as well. And so, I reached out to Coach Greason, who was the golf and the hockey coach at the time, and fortunately, we were able to make it work where I could come here and play both sports, and I'm so glad it worked out.
Yeah. And you played golf and you were a goalie on the hockey team at Trinity. So just tell me about, how was it playing, both golf and hockey and just, balancing, playing both of those? How was that
Yeah.
during your time at
Well,
Trinity?
first, I mean, it helped that the coach was the same person. So we had a really great relationship.
Okay.
And I would go right from golf into hockey season, and then hockey season immediately back into golf season. And
Okay.
for me, I felt like my time management was almost better when I was in the middle of a season, because like you have your schedule all planned out, and like these are the specific hours where I was able to do my work, my homework. So it worked. It wasn't too difficult for me. I love being part of both teams. They both had just I just had awesome teammates on both squads.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a great experience to be able to play both at Trinity and have success at both too. I mean, we won um, 2 NESCAC championships in hockey during or actually 3 over the course of my 4 years, and then 2 NESCAC golf championships as well. So, um, just it was cool to be a part of that with such great guys and great competitors. And at the Division 3 level, I think like you're only as you go like it is what you make of it. So if like we all pushed each other very very hard. And it's just a lot of fun being able to work hard and enjoy each other's company while we worked at something that we love.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned getting pushed very hard. This leads into my next question. You grew up, in a family with a lot of athletes. Your father played college tennis. Your sister played college tennis. You had another sister who played college lacrosse. So just what was it like, growing up in a family with, a lot of different sports being played and a lot of different athletes in your family? Yeah.
Yeah, I should mention too, my mom is a great athlete as well. I think she works harder than the rest of the family. She just didn't end up playing a sport in college, but
Okay.
I definitely got a bunch of athletic genes from her. But I mean, it was fun. Like we just have a super competitive family. I mean, we'll make a game out of anything. So like I sort of just knew that college athletics was what I wanted to do. My sisters were great role models for me. My parents are amazing. So, uh, yeah, I mean, sports just sort of it's what our family does, and
Mhm.
being able to compete together is always so fun.
Yeah. And I think, my next question, I think this could give good perspective. You played multiple sports growing up. and you played hockey and golf in college. So, for someone, who plays multiple sports or looking to play multiple sports in college, what advice would you give to someone, looking to play, multiple sports or, or given that you played multiple sports, if you're like recruiting a player, do you look for someone who's a multi-sport athlete and doesn't just focus on, just golf or just hockey?
Absolutely, I do. I mean, and I feel like this day and age, there are less and less multi-sport athletes because, you know, people just try and get so focused on a single sport in when they're young and try and be as good as they can be in that one. Um, and I think playing a bunch of sports for me, like, I mean, first of all, like one reason I'll try and recruit multiple sport athletes is like golf is such an individual sport. If they play hockey or basketball or football, lacrosse, whatever, like they know how to be a good teammate. They know what it's like to be part of a team. So I
Hmm.
think that adds an element once they get to campus and are just part of the golf team because um, you know, you think of golf as an individual sport, but team chemistry makes such a huge difference. And that I think that's what I'm most proud of about our team is how they play for each other and like I think the camaraderie of it all, like it makes such a difference because when you start off, let's say 3 over through two, and you double your first hole and like the weather stinks and you know it's maybe you're not playing a great course. You like some people will be like, oh, like you know, screw this. I don't feel like trying. I'm not going to grind it out. Where if you've got your best buddies that you're playing with, like they're 100% going to grind out that entire round, try and get back to even, or at least give the team a score that can contribute. And so it's so awesome for me to see the team now pushing each other. Um, you know, having there's competition, but it's all in good fun. Um, and really motivating each other to be as great as they can be because that's what my team was like at Trinity.
Hmm.
And my senior year, we were able to get 10th in the NCAA championship, which is the best team in the NESCAC has ever done. So I think if we can have a little bit of that, then we can get to that level of success.
Yeah, I think that's I never really thought about it, but I think that's good perspective that someone who's a multi-sport athlete, they really like, competing, being on a team.
Hmm.
So I think that's great.
Absolutely. Did you
Um,
play any sports growing up, Gavin?
when I was younger, I just played, until I was in like fourth grade, soccer, basketball, baseball. Then I went about fourth grade, I would say. Then I started, just playing golf.
Nice, nice. Did you ever play any tournaments?
Yeah, I just grew up because I grew up in Arizona. I
Oh,
mostly
really?
just played junior golf in Arizona, but
Yeah.
never really
Not
good.
not ideal over here in Connecticut.
No.
At what point did you move?
I went to school in Vermont, and then I
Oh,
moved here to Connecticut after. Well, we've lived here for 6 years because my stepdad works in New York City.
gotcha.
And so on
That's
and off,
great.
I've
You're
been
well
here six
traveled.
years, but about 4 years full time. I've been living in Connecticut.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we wanted to move back here because my sister lives in Boston, so
Oh, okay. Nice.
we
How
wanted
old
to
is
move
she?
to the east. She's 29, and yeah,
You go visit Boston much?
yeah, I went to see her a couple weeks ago.
Nice. Which do you prefer, Boston or New York?
I like New York. I root for the New York. Well, I mean, I like Arizona teams also because I grew up there, but um, I also like the New York sports teams. Like I'm a big Yankees fan,
Let's
all
go.
that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
What about hockey? Are you a hockey fan?
I'd say out of the four major sports, that's the one I'm least knowledgeable about. But I
Mm.
say I'm a Rangers fan, but they're not doing so good this year.
Yeah, they could still make a playoff push.
Yeah, but so I'm a Rangers fan, but least knowledgeable out of that, out of baseball, hockey, basketball, and football. I'd say that
I gotcha.
one I'm least knowledgeable about, just
Mhm.
because I grew up in Arizona and our hockey team's now in Utah, so
Right,
hockey
right.
wasn't a
Although
huge
Austin
thing.
Austin Matthews is from Arizona.
Oh yeah, he is. Mhm. So into my next question, I asked this about a lot of coaches. You were named the head coach at Trinity in 2023. Just what drew you to become a coach, and did you ever, when you were playing or in college, did you ever think about, becoming a coach, or just tell me, how did you end up becoming a college golf coach?
I got pretty lucky. I sort of fell into it because when I was graduating, when I was a senior, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work in sports in some capacity. But I hadn't even applied to any jobs yet. And then I remember it was right before a hockey practice. Coach Greason called me into his office and asked if I wanted to be his assistant golf coach the next year because he knew
Okay.
that I wanted to work in sports. And at the time, I don't know, I had really never thought about it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to, take it, but I would have been able to get my master's here at Trinity at the same time. So when I spoke about it with my parents, they're like, yeah, that's a great opportunity. You should definitely go for it. And I kind of never looked back. I mean, I didn't expect to be a golf coach, but now that I am, it sort of makes sense to me because my dad is such a phenomenal coach, so patient. He's got a great way of saying the same thing in using different words until the individual understands. So I think I sort of have it a little bit of coaching in my genes. So I was the assistant men's coach for 3 years, and then the women's team at Trinity was at the time like still starting up, and they needed an interim coach for a year. So then I was the women's head coach for a year, which was great. I got like just learned so much that year. Had an awesome team, a lot of fun players, and I think that's when I knew that I could be successful as a head coach. So after that, I went back to being the men's assistant for one more year. And then ultimately, Coach Greason decided he just wanted to focus on the hockey program. And I became the head men's golf coach. So, it was 5 years of sort of getting there, working hard as an assistant golf coach. I also was an assistant on the women's hockey team, working with
Mhm.
their goalies and doing a lot of like operation stuff behind the scenes. So I feel like I definitely earned my role. I put in the work, and I'm so happy now that to be in this job. And like I just love recruiting players to Trinity, like because then I get to show them
Mhm.
what a great experience Trinity can be. And then also, like, I truly believe our team could one day win a national championship. So I love recruiting, motivated individuals that want to come in here and make a difference for the program and for the college.
Yeah. So you coach, you're the head men's golf coach right now, and you coached in hockey as you mentioned. So I'm interested to know, any similarities or differences. Obviously hockey and golf, they're two different sports, but from coaching, are there any similarities and differences you found or learned from, coaching
Yeah,
both in
I think
hockey and
so.
golf?
I mean, particularly the goaltending position compared to being a golfer, I think the mental aspect of it is very similar because you're sort of, if you're a forward or a defenseman, you're on the bench, you're with your team the whole time. But as a goalie, you're on your own, and it can be a lonely feeling sometimes, just like when you're on the golf course and competing in a tournament. It's just you against the course. Um, so, in the same way that you need to bounce back after a bad swing or a bad hole, like that's the same attitude that you need to bring to being a goalie. Like if you give up a soft goal, like on a shot from the blue line or something, you know
Mhm.
what? Like it's not going to help you to keep playing it over and over in your mind. You need to move on, get to the next shot. So I think as a coach, it's pretty similar. Like I'm not a yeller at all, where some hockey coaches may be, where they need to like get that motivated fire. Like I'm pretty even keeled on the golf course or on the ice rink. So yeah, for me it's pretty similar, and it's an enjoyable experience doing both. I always
Yeah.
like when I was growing up, people would ask me, "Oh, what's your favorite sport between golf and hockey?" And I would always say like there's no, in the summertime, there's no place I would rather be than the golf course. I would hate to be in a cold hockey rink where in the winter here, you know, hitting golf balls into a net isn't the most fun, but I did love, being on the ice competing there. So depends on the season for me. But I've got a lot of love for both sports.
Yeah. And you've mentioned this a lot, and I think, this could give good perspective. But if one of your players, has a bad hole, or if you're playing, if your team's playing in, bad weather, maybe it's raining or, it's windy or, the weather's not great, what advice would you give to one of your players or your team, if you're playing, bad weather conditions, or if, a player has a bad hole and maybe make a double on a
Wait,
hole,
sorry,
like
one
what
second.
advice would you give to your player or team in those situations?
I mean, it's just as
Mhm,
simple as just trying to shake it off.
mhm,
Like I said, there's no reason to dwell on a bad shot or um, on a bad hole. So I think as a coach in that situation, if I saw that happen, I would just try and maybe make him smile and just say, it's going to be all right. You still got 17 other holes left to play. Just trying to keep them even keeled and because the last thing you want to do is let your emotions, after a double, then maybe, if you're on like a, you know, short par four or something like that, you try and get too aggressive to make up those shots and it can get away from you. So it's just about sort of sticking to your game plan and trying to be as have the best emotional control that you can have.
yeah. And then Trinity is a Division 3 school, if you're like recruiting or if you're talking to someone, how would you, promote or, what, great things would you say about, Division 3, golf particularly?
Well, I think it's great. It's not going to feel like a job,
Yeah.
like it should be really fun throughout all this. And then, the beauty of it also is like, especially at a school like Trinity, you're able to get a phenomenal education. Like we only play our tournaments on Saturdays and Sundays, so we will rarely ever miss school, which is really nice. And, it's just like we don't take ourselves too seriously. I mean, we have a lot of fun. We work hard. Um, but at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about the wins and the losses. I mean, of course, we want to win every tournament that we go into, but it's mostly just about the overall experience. And then at the Division 3 level, players are able to get into other extracurricular extracurricular events if they want to, like if they want to study abroad or if they want to, be a part of the investment club or play club hockey, stuff like that. Like they have that time for it at the Division 3 level. So, um, it's just a lot of fun and a great experience.
Yeah, I know a lot of, especially a lot of the schools in NESCAC, like Trinity, Middlebury, Williams, just to name a few, they have great
Yeah,
academics,
absolutely.
especially
Yeah.
athletics. So it's very
hmm
cool. Being a, finally, being a 2019 graduate of Trinity, now you coach, you're the head men's golf coach. So just what is it like getting to coach at Trinity, as an alum, and just what do you enjoy most about, being a college coach?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I've said before, I'm super competitive, so being able to, be a part of a team and compete in events and try and win, like that's awesome. And I get a great competitive fix from that. But then, I mean, just like hanging with the guys and having that common goal of working hard together to try and win a championship is just so fun. Like, I mean, I have a great time hanging in our golf room and just, talking about whatever, last night's football game or hearing about their intramural basketball game. Like it's just I have an awesome time hanging with everyone and being at Trinity is such a great experience for me because it's like my home. I'm very comfortable here. I know so many people and as an alum, like I want to make my past teammates and other alums, like I want to make them proud by bringing success to Trinity Golf. So it's just such a cool experience, and being the head coach, like I'm able to keep up with all my buddies about it. Like they're very tuned in to how the team is doing, which is a cool feeling for me. I appreciate everyone's support. Um, and yeah, I mean, I like I always say I never get sick of walking around the campus either. Like just walking from here over to the dining hall for lunch and or touring a recruit around. Like I always feel that pride in my heart of you know being representing Trinity well and wanting other people to as amazing of an experience as I did.